Well, back at you and gloves off. I'm Professor Buitrón. I'm here with a great guest and a great friend, one I consider a brother, Grandmaster Jerry Fast Feet Fontanz from up in New York area. And we're going to touch base on martial arts, the business, the membership businesses that are out there, the Zumba classes, the yoga classes, small gyms, CrossFit, all that stuff. What has now happened? How we doing, brother? You doing good?
I'm doing excellent here from the Boogie Down Bronx, baby.
I was gonna, you know, everybody keeps asking, and we've been around for a long time. You and the school, and us here in the farm. There's a lot of martial arts schools that after the pandemic, that were icon schools, just disappeared completely, and you have a lot of those students that had attained a rank to teach are opening up schools. But guess what? The schools they're opening up, all of a sudden they're being closed down within 6 months, a year, and it's hard to see that going because we live in some hard times right now. People think that we don't, but we live in some very hard times. When you and I were doing martial arts, and we had started martial arts back then. Some classes were $30, some classes were 50. The most expensive ones were 65. And now a consensus is just an average here in Texas. It's anywhere between 150 to $350 in the martial arts school. So it's a huge parameter. I'm pretty sure New York is about the same or a little more. And talk to those folks listening out there. And believe me, if you guys are listening, you guys like this and you think it's valuable, like, share, comment, tell us where you're from, because this podcast is going out for the small business entrepreneur and a lot of martial artists are that. And a lot of people want to start up a business. And right now we're going to get into all that on how to start up a school, where it's going. Brother, you take the road.
All right. So again, let me give you a little background. I started teaching martial arts in 1982. I was 16 years old. I used the Head Start program after hours. And at the time, here in the Boogie Down Bronx, we're talking about in the middle of the crack era. So a lot of things that's gone throughout the nation that's crazy now. I mean, it started out in the ghetto. I mean, just realistic. So we always had the challenges. There was always a challenge between paying for martial arts lessons or getting it for free, the YMCA, the PAL. So the parameters are wide. It's always been from free to a fee. And if you opened up a school, the other martial artists say, "Oh yeah, he's going commercial, like he was a sellout or something like that." These guys went to work, and they were part-time instructors. Is what I was thinking. I didn't want to go to a part-time doctor, to a part-time lawyer. I wanted to go to a part-time professional. So that was the same thing with martial arts. That's the way my brain thought about it, even as a teenager. Because my instructor had a professional martial arts school. And the difference was that there was an actual schedule, there was an actual floor, there was a mirror, there was not a hole in the wall that we just happened to be using presently and then having to move it and move it and move it and move it, like most of my friends did. So in order to open up a school, oh my God, getting that initial down payment to a martial arts location, which was 3 months, or 2 months rent, 1 month security, and plus you had to have some form of business, whether it was a sole proprietorship that they could go get in the county clerk, just getting a DBA or an actual Inc. OC today. So there was a variety of things, and it still is right now. But one thing that's consistent is that you can't have a business without clients. And clients, literally, I mean, call them students, call them clients, call them members, call them whatever. You just got to be able to have reach and people to be able to participate in your activity. So one of the easiest ways to have done that was to start a school once you had students. So a lot of my friends used to do that. I'm teaching right now in the PAL and the YMCA, and then once I get enough students, I'm gonna open up a school. And in mindset, that sounded great. But the fact of the matter is that it never transferred that well because the people who were used to paying nothing now are going to start paying you something. So so a lot of people's dreams never really were accomplished. Now, I remember in 1988, I was the number one fighter in the nation. Every weekend I used to take a short vacation, but I couldn't keep up with inflation. So I had to change my occupation to the power of persuasion. And because I took some action, I owned the mansion, and that was the truth. In other words, the more professional you are, the better chances you have to becoming successful. So investing in yourself is the key. I slightly joke around and say it's kind of difficult to be motivated when you're broke. But if you're not motivated, you're going to stay broke or maybe broken. And that's where we're at right now. Take that and put it on steroids. What's happened is so tragic to small business in general, let alone to what would be an additional expense or investment called the martial arts. So the only way for you to really be that significant is to add so much more than what the average person does. I joined the school. I started teaching years after. I'm thinking kicking and punching is the reason why people are coming. And then people started asking me, well, can you help me with my son's, I'm a single parent. Can you help me with my son? He's having some issues in school. And I was 22 myself. I'm saying, what the hell? That's not my problem. I'm here to teach him how to fight. This was what my mindset was until I realized, oh my God, we're extended family members. And I'm the crazy uncle that's supposed to keep the nephew in check. Oh, okay. And then I started saying, well, it has to be fun for me to do this because I'm in my 20s and I like to have a good time. So I started changing things to make it fun, but effective. And then I started saying, man, there's a bunch of teenagers here, and we normally lose the teens. We lose the teens a lot of times to the streets or to the cliques or the posse, the crews, the gangs. So I said, I'm going to make a gang of positive kids, a gang of positive kids. And they're going to have colors, they're going to have their own handshake, the whole thing. So when they go to high school, they're not going to be bullied because they're going to have backup, but backup with kids that do the right thing. It worked. I went from 50 students to 150 students from September to December of 1988. But I had help. I had a mentor. I had people that were already successful. Some of them were just in videos and cassettes back then. And I went to seminars. Because speaking to the average person that has never had a business is just a waste of time, unless you do what I did, which was listen to them and do the opposite, because their advice was usually 100% wrong. Everyone's so smart, but they never done it themselves. So fast forward to today, what would I do today opening up a martial arts school? Really, really easy. First of all, I will have to get myself prepared because it's going to be a crazy ride. However, it will be worth it if you're able to become, for lack of a better description, using today's modern terminology, a brand. You have to be a brand, and the brand has to be the you. The school is really based on the instructor's ability to reach the general public. And the way to do that is via media, and media today happens to be social.
Absolutely.
The majority of people that I know are white belts in social media.
Absolutely.
They do it personally, and they never learned what the pros do. What the pros do. What I had to do personally was educate myself in the modern day reach. Now, years ago, we went on a media blitz, traditional media blitz, but I had a public relations director who happens to be, rest in peace, one of the greatest promoters of martial arts of all time. So, the great Grandmaster Aaron Banks, who threw the Oriental Wall of Self-Defense, who was on Dick Cavett and Merv Griffith and you name it. I mean, this guy here had incredible ability to deal with the general public. And what I noticed with him that can still be done today was that he was a professional. He literally went to the newspapers and called TV stations and help them have fresh new content from a local standpoint. So let's say right now you have a student and that student's made some quantum leaps in an area. Maybe he or she was bullied, maybe he or she has a physical disability, what have you. That becomes now a heartwarming story that can be used on television, because we still have TV, it's not just social media. And the reason I'm saying this is because we need to have great stories out there, real deal stories. And to have, he had a media list, a list of contacts of people in the media. Now, I can't imagine what he would have done today. Because another thing that he had me do was I became a public access TV host of my own show. Back in 1994, I did 25 episodes of the Fast Food Fontanz martial arts show. Today, that would have been an ongoing weekly show from my school, and I would feature my students on a consistent basis. I would absolutely show the world the truth. The truth is that we all have problems. My kid has ADHD, EFG, HIKK, LMNOP, because that's just the deal today. We have a different type of student that has more issues. And if he doesn't have the issues, that becomes an issue because now everybody has to have a therapist. And then we become the therapist that isn't even educated on how to become a therapist. So I highly suggest learning how to do neurolinguistic programming from Tony Robbins or neuroassociation conditioning. You have to learn from the people who know how to produce results. I also strongly believe that you must, in terms of finances, you got to have at least 3 months in the rears to be able to cover your rear for a quarter. And it's almost impossible to do, but this is something that's a must. If you're not prepared like that to have your so-called backup, then you have to make sure that you keep your overhead as low as possible. And that becomes almost like a catch-22, right? So if your overhead is low as possible, that means your intellect has to be higher. You can always charge more than the average person if you have more to offer. The challenge there is that most people who need the help don't have the finances, right? Okay, so what would I have to do? I would have to make myself very valuable. And I can only become valuable if other people say the truth. And what's the truth? My kid had 2 left feet. He couldn't stand still. Or my kid, whatever the case may be, your success stories are in your school. You know them better than me. Those people have to become what I would consider almost like a local star. Because parents, one thing that's easy now, it wasn't like this before. This social media, man, they share that stuff. They really share it.
You're correct, and that's what happens. And a lot of people. Let's go back into the finances and stuff. A lot of people right now, we get calls and it goes, Professor, I want to open up a school here. I want to open up there. I want to open up a small business here. I want to open up there. I think what I do a good brisket. I like to cook. I want to open up, get a food. Okay. Have you searched the locations? Because most locations right now, at 1,000 square feet, you're looking anywhere between 37 to 45 to $5,000 per month. That's without light, without water. That's just the rent of the space.
The rent's crazy. That's like New York. Listen, the first my location was 1,000 square feet, and my rent was $2,000 in 1988. So I completely understand. That same location today will be like $7,000. Sure. So I completely that's my point. Now, can you offset that by charging more? Yeah, of course. It kind of balances out. But the challenge is that you have less people now that are willing to invest that type of finances and sometimes an additional activity, again, until it becomes a necessity. See, usually you have a student get beat up in school and they put them in the karate class. They say, I can stand, I can't stand no more. But then they ask you, well, how long do they have to learn, to be good enough for that not to happen again? right? So they think it's like this 3 month thing or 6 month thing. You're thinking, no, this is a lifetime journey, but you can't say that from the beginning because they're saying, I don't want to pay for a lifetime. Right. So I get it from a parent standpoint. I'm a father of five, and if I have five children
You
that
know,
wanted to train in martial arts,
you know. I compare this to music classes.
right?
Around here, guitar lessons for 1 hour, it's $75 an hour, $50 an hour. And then the kid is going 4 or 5 times a week, 3 times a week. Let's say 3 times a week. So 150. Let's say it's $50 an hour. That's $150 a week.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the difference, right? My mindset had to change from it's dance or um like you said, music or what have you, to oxygen. Without martial arts, I don't think anybody. I know my life would be completely different.
Sure.
What would happen to me if I was in martial arts? I would have been a statistic.
Yeah.
When martial arts become a necessity, then people respect it more. The people who believe it's a necessity in any school are former students that just couldn't afford it or were going through a transitional stage. There's a big group of people who respect you so much that they will duck you in the more because they don't train with you anymore sometimes. So they're embarrassed because they never had a chance to go back. So from a business standpoint, we have past, present, and potential students, right? Future students. Those are three different lists that you must have. Real, you go back to all the previous students and develop, hey, how's everything going? Give me an update. It's been years. You might find them on social media, most likely. Or if you do happen to have some of the information, physical still because of your paper. Listen, there's a gold mine in former students because they may not join themselves, but they'll have their children join. Because I say, you know what? That's right. I need someone to help, and professor can help you. Every school owner or any business has past clients that can actually either reinstate themselves or get a referral from or membership up. Now, your existing students, they're the ones that are the poster boy and poster girl. I used to do things like, let's say I wanted to do a flyer. Of course, today a flyer is even easier, it's a selfie or it's so much easier now, right? And speak to action, and you don't have to and it's cheap. It's called the whopping total sweat equity. Right? We used to have a contest to see who's going to be the student of the month. Now, the student of the month to us was the opportunity to wear your black belt or the equivalent to that for the whole month, and it set student of the month on that black belt. So a person joined the school, and we would tell them, in about 3 months, you're going to need some sparring equipment. It's going to cost you blah, blah, blah amount of money. So you can get it, you can either buy it or get it for free. And the parents always ask, how can I get it for free? And I would give them our referral program right there and then. By the time you get 5 people who you referred, all the equipment was free and the equipment was worth whatever, $200, whatever the case may be. Not everybody did it, of course. Some will, some won't, so what? But I remember having 27 students, all from referrals, in the month of November, which is one of the most difficult months to get anyone to join the school. And the way I did at the time was we would go over to Staples and get the pre-cut sheets of paper that you can take the business cards, and there were VIP cards, 3-week passes that had the value of what the 1 week would have been if you divide your month. And the student now had a business card. Imagine you got your own business card. Mind you, the parents were the ones that were going to give it out at work. They were the ones that were going to give it out in the neighborhood because they're the ones that have to financially deal with the situation. So when I say referrals from students, it's really the parents that are doing the referrals. And the best parents that I see normally is the grandparents. Grandparents know other grandparents, and those grandparents are the ones that normally bring the kids to your school. So the best parents we ever had were grandparents, which also means that is that the case with you?
Those are the best. That's some great advice, you know, especially for those guys out there. Pay attention, because a lot of people think martial arts is just coming out here kicking and punching and doing techniques over and over and over. You're going to end up, you as an instructor are going to end up becoming a psychiatrist, psychologist, marriage
extended family member. You're the crazy uncle. We're the crazy uncle.
Yeah,
Hey,
you know, policemen, not policemen. Should we do this? Should we do that? You're going to be the jack of all trades, and believe me, it happens. And nobody's complaining about that, nor Grandmaster, nor I. We take that and we enjoy not doing that, but we enjoy it that it happens, that the confidence is there within us. And if we can help when we give advice, you know,
well, this is what I'm saying, that today, right? Today you have to be Tony Robbins. You have to be Tony Robbins or Les Brown or Zig Ziglar. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, guys, then we got a real big problem, because a lot of times, see, this is the difference. I was not taught by motivational people. I was taught by dictators. I was taught by people who came from the military, and they did not know how to just inspire you. Now, yes, you did get inspired, but it was literally a system structured for the strong to survive. The weak was eliminated.
Yeah, I came up that same way, and it was, you know, people say, "Oh, how." It's a total different entity from when I came up and what you guys are doing, and you try to emulate those traditions inside for you guys to learn, and you see the positiveness. And like you said, everybody wants how long. This is not a microwave. Martial arts is not. I put in here 3 months. I'm going to come out and I'm going to know everything. No, it doesn't happen that way. It takes time to do. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Whenever there's and I hate to put it this way, kids that are being bullied, the parents call all the time. And out of 90% of those parents that call because their kid is being bullied do not show up at the martial arts school. But they will call constantly once or twice, 3 times a year that their kid's being bullied. And those parents do not do and take action. The parents that take action, so about 10% that really stand up and say, you know, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to take them to a martial arts school for them to get a little bit of confidence, learn how to defend themselves. It's a very small price on them. Every Friday night or so, on Monday, I get a call from a young lady, unfortunately, that her boyfriend slapped her around at a nightclub, this, that, and that, and they want to learn how to defend themselves because they have issues. That happens on a regular basis. And I tell this to parents and to young ladies out there, and guys too, because they also come out every so often after football games. They'll call you up that they want to learn how to fight, because guess what happened? They got popped around because they were at tailgate and they said something wrong, you know, liquid courage got to them. All of a sudden they got beaten up. So those are the people that call on a constant basis. They're the ones that are looking for martial arts after the fact. Okay? And it should not be a reactive situation. It should be a proactive situation. So parents, you put kids inside for this not to happen in the future. Understand what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%.
Thing happened. It's already too late.
To me, everything that you just said there was based on low self-esteem.
Yep.
When the person has a low character, it creates what would be the opportunity for other people to take advantage of them. So character development is really what this is about. But I'll give you a visual example. I'll give you a visual example of how I used to advertise. Now, again, it was pretty unique in the area because I was able to have 1,000 students in multiple locations in New York. And my school was on Broadway between 55th and 54th Street, Midtown Manhattan. So Underdog and Superman during the Macy's parade was flying out my window, to give an example. My rent there was $4,000 a month back in the 1990s. I had no financial backing. I had no rich dad. My father was incarcerated, so it wasn't that. But what I did was I became a professional in all aspects of business. First and foremost, I have an introductory program. That introductory program makes sense. It was we people had to qualify for our schools. The way they qualify was after having a free week, I should say, a week of lessons. The week of lessons, the first week wasn't even free. They paid for an introductory program, which basically gave them a uniform at a discount price with the opportunity of participating in a portion of the school. Why would not? What? And I said it like that. People would call me and they would say, how much are the lessons? I said, well, we have a variety of programs, and once you come in, I'll make sure I give you all the options. However, our introductory program is $19.99 to $29.99, and includes blah 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 blah. And then they said, well, if they said anything after that, I said, listen, the fact of the matter is that I don't know if you guys are gonna like us, and we don't know if we're gonna like you, right? And they say, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Once you come in, I'll make sure you leave with all the information necessary, right? Now, once they came to the school, I had an introductory instructor for them. That kid was a yellow belt. It was a beginner. It was a teenager that was able to earn some commission based on every time a student joined the school, because they taught them the first two lessons, which was basically just how to participate in the class. It was supposed to be 30 minutes. That program was used nationwide by people, but they didn't really see the value behind it. I saw the incredible value behind it because it makes sense to me. I get a chance to sample something before I participate, but I strongly believe that the biggest mistake that people do to this very day is do the free. No, it's not free because there's no value behind free. This is the fee. But if you have a VIP, then you got hooked up by Johnny. That's a little different. But it's not free. It's just free for you for now because you was able to be referred by blah, blah, blah person. I call a school and they say, I said, how's everything go? Everything's good. Oh, we do a free week. And then if they want to join, they join. If not, that's okay. Whoa, hold on a second. So you don't even have what's considered an onboarding today they call it onboarding program, step-by-step procedure. They don't even, we had a black belt school. We said, we are a black belt school. And people used to say, that means you have to be a black belt to join the school. I said, no, that means that our goal is to obtain a black belt. That's the goal. So when you join the school, you join on a portion of what would be a black belt curriculum. It starts over with a 1-year agreement. 1-year agreement. If you don't have an agreement that's on paper, people could call it a contract. It's not a contract because it's not notarized, and it's not like you're getting a mortgage. But it is an agreement that says two things. You agree to pay tuition, and we agree to be here. So it's double-sided. We're making an agreement, and you're making an agreement. Without that, it's called a hustle. And that hustle, we don't know how many times people open up schools and then they close schools and they took the money and they ran. So we have to even deal with that reputation of other people in the past sometimes. How many times a martial arts school owner himself has been inappropriate with students? And then that might last for a few months in that neighborhood also. So all these things are literally public relations issues. But the reason why people are supposed to open up or join the martial arts school, and they say it to you, except they're wrong. They say, I want him to do martial arts for the discipline. That's my opportunity to teach people. We don't teach discipline. Discipline is what someone does to you. We teach self-discipline. We teach self-esteem. We teach self-defense. We teach what is responsibility, the ability to respond. So I used to put a photo, imagine a photo like this. This room here is a mess. This room here is neat. One of these two rooms is a martial artist room. And it's the one that's clean. Help your kids fix the bed today. See, parents today are not the same parents either. That's one of the biggest challenges. They're doing TikTok with their kids and even some of the grandparents. So that's not our market. Our market are the people who have values that are traditional, and that starts with generations.
Absolutely. And that's the problem that you find now. That generation, and I'm glad that you brought that in there. And there's two things that you said that are, one is a contract or the agreement. You have that because I have an obligation with you and you have an obligation with me. I'm going to keep this space open because if I also have an agreement with my landlord, and if I don't have any students, how can we keep this school open? They come up to me and they always tell me, well, how come you charge so much? We charge 150 to 200 bucks a month, depending on the programs that you have. Okay, fine. We also have from the county, we also get help for those that are in the financial burden, that a lot of stuff is paid for them financially if you fall within that bracket. But guess what? If you fall in that bracket, your kid has to come here. He has to participate in the school. He has to do a bunch of other things. He has to do better grades, show the report card. And a lot of parents don't want that. They say, no, wait a minute. We want that program, but why do you have to look at my son's grades? Because we don't want bad.
Earn it. Scholarships have to be earned.
It's on a scholarship level. That's what you guys do it for. Anyway, to make a long story short, nowadays, from when we were there, dads were the ones that were bringing in the kids and the little boys and little girls and saying, you know what, teach them how to defend themselves.
Yeah, I'm at work. I want him to be.
Yeah, it was a father that would call. It was a father that would bring them. Somewhere around the late 90s, 2000, you started seeing a lot more moms come in. Now, moms just call, and the first question they ask is, how much are your classes? Oh, how come the other person over there is charging so much? Well, then go over there. That's my main thing. Go right. To me. A lot of them come in to say, well, how come you don't teach for free? There is free classes in the cities.
Yeah, you direct them. It's right over there.
And there's free classes here too. And I tell them, you want to go learn for free? The sheriff has an excellent boxing program. It's free. Go over there. Oh, it's too far. Well, go over there because it's free.
Hey, listen,
okay? It's never ending.
Yeah, but this is the part that I want people to really understand. For those of you who are instructors, all those things will drain you and you will close your school in 2 seconds because it's not worth it. So please understand this. You do not want, there's two things that happen. Burnout happens pretty often. And then every quarter, normally summer and winter, because the spring is decent, the fall is decent. So we really have 6 months a year that we have some type of flow. And then that flow stops during the holiday season. After Thanksgiving, you got to wait until pretty much March, because people now don't have the finances, and then they kick you to the curb because they're buying some things. That's why I strongly believe in helping people with their finances in one capacity or another. There's a program that I'm involved in that it's incredible because every time they spend $1 here, they get a chance to use that same thing in terms of a form of a coupon to help them with stuff like birthday gifts and Christmas gifts and so on and so forth. So that being the case, every martial arts instructor in school has an opportunity to have multiple streams of income. If you do not have multiple streams of income in your operation, then you have a major problem. Your rent is always going to be the same, whether you open 1 hour a day or 24 hours, 7 days a week. So what I did was I had multiple streams of income in my same location, which included a variety of things, such as my store, my martial arts store was a store, and I made clothes that people were going to wear in the neighborhood that had nothing to do with even martial arts, but had everything to do with the colors of the local team or what have you. I made baseball shirts and football shirts and even hockey shirts and soccer shirts that had my school logo on it, but I did it in limited runs, only a dozen, because you have parents who, whatever you get, they support you. My location had a little store, and that little store at least twice a year paid for the entire rent for the month, especially around Christmas time. What? We did merchandising of the wazoo because I realized that every quarter these so-called people who had no money had sneakers and clothes, and they all went shopping all the time. That being the case, I literally had to have some income coming in during those times. That's part of branding. You see me, I always have my logo on. Reason being, it's important. You have your logo on. Now, you need help. Every school owner needs help. And every city needs help. Without getting political, because it doesn't matter whoever's in that position.
What side of it, whether you're on the right or the left, the kids are there and they don't care. And we have to take care of them if that's where it's going to be at. The problem that we have is right now everybody is such in a financial burden that guess what's going to rise? Crime. Crime is going to go up. And if you do not know how to take care of yourself in the street, well, guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to be part of that crime. You're going to be the lower end of it. So people do not understand that. Self-defense, when we can talk about self-defense, that's a natural right for everybody to learn. Everybody should be able to defend themselves.
Safety first.
Safety first. We as men should be able to protect our family, our kids, and everybody else. We have to. If not, we couldn't live with ourselves. I couldn't. You couldn't. I know that. Right. So we have to understand that we always have to provide. There's a gap in our generation right now that's not there.
Right. Well, you're 1,000% right. So this is what and again, I want to speak to right now the frustrated martial arts instructor who does not know if this is even worth it. Your value has increased even though you have been beat up more. Yes, you absolutely do have an important position in your town. But like I said, it's kind of hard to be motivated when you're broke, when you're dealing with real issues, when you have to go back home and not have the things that you need for your kids that were invested in something that could have been used for that. And sometimes you get judged for that because parents, I mean, they forget that you're a parent too. They forget that you're a husband also. They forget that, because they see you as almost like a priest that doesn't need anything, that can just live off of the air and what have you. So you're not a human to them. You're just more like a superhero. But they don't know the days that when you close the good night and you close the door, you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this stuff? This next quarter is going to be crazy and I'm behind over the stuff. So that's being the case. That's why, to me, if you're a martial arts instructor, you have to have multiple streams of income, but it can't be inconsistent with what it is that you're about. As an example, something like a birthday party, right? People pay for these things all the time. And there might have been times where you did it as a business, but I always had what would be birthday party options, and we made a few $100s that day. Those were bonuses on the off hours. There's ways to earn some additional income. And I don't mean by just renting your place out to them, and then they don't respect it, and that becomes a bigger to-do. But even if you just had one birthday party a month that you personally was doing, or you had once a week that somebody else was doing, because parents who do have finances, in every situation that we have where you have someone who has no money, every neighborhood has those people who do have money, and they send the kids to private school, and they have a different form of zip code, and those people, I always want to get them into my school, because the disadvantage that they have by having a nice zip code is that their instructors, the people that teach over there, aren't normally people who can teach them how to be safe. You have to go to the ghetto, so to speak, at least the mindset of a ghetto, to be able to learn how to do the real deal. So the fear factor of not having my child or even myself, safe is absolutely, 100% right. Besides getting the guns and going to shooting, because that's another thing too, because that's, the crime rate goes up. That means now all of a sudden people are going to get more guns, which means that now we're all at risk just because people just trying to make ends meet, and the world's gone to hell in a handbag. So if there was ever a time for you to become the go-to person in your area to prevent things from happening, If you're a master, a grandmaster, professor, a teacher, sensei, you should be that sensei for the city. But it's hard. I mean, and I know it's hard to look at it from a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed standpoint because we've been beat up so much. But without that positive energy, you're not going to be able to attract people that you want. When you let's talk about vibration for a second. When you're on a low frequency vibration, that means that you are hurt and you're pissed with good reason. However, people don't want to be around people that are like that. So that's where the catch-22 is. And I say it again, it's kind of difficult to be motivated when you're broke, right? But if you don't get motivated, you're going to be broke. So you almost have to be in a fantasy world. And like, for example, I wanted to open up 100 karate schools in New York City. That was my goal. And people thought I was crazy. But I said, but wait a second. I see Dunkin' Donuts all over the place. What the hell? McDonald's. I see all these franchises of nonsense. Every 10 blocks is like a new neighborhood. New York City being able to, having 8 million people. So it's a different structure. 100 schools, we got more than 100 neighborhoods. It's nothing. Because most people, regardless of how good you are, come to you out of convenience. Now, the people who are the diehard absolute best students, they're the ones that travel multiple towns to get to you. They are your disciples. Those people should be the stars of your school. They're the ones that, if you put them on the camera, and again, guys, when I'm saying these things, I'm talking about based on my experience as a martial arts instructor, professional meaning that I got paid, dating back to 1982. So I've seen the 80s, I've seen the 90s, I've seen what's happening now. And what saddens me today is that there's always going to be a constant. You have to have your shit together, guys. And what I mean by that is you have to have your shit together mentally first, because if you focus on the fact of these problems, you're going to get more of those problems. And I know it's hard. It's hard to wake up and not be realistic. But realistically, you got to be the solution. If you become the problem person, meaning the one that's just pissed off, I could easily, listen, we can easily get really disgusted and pissed off at the lack of respect that has happened worldwide. But that agenda is being pushed, like, So you do your part to make sure that you help. I don't know you want to say something. I know it's saying a lot, man, but you know what? It breaks my heart because I know that our fellow martial arts instructors are sacrificing a lot of their time, money, and effort, and they're not being appreciated the same way. However, there are people out there that just don't know about you. Our marketing has to find those people, because think about it. Most martial arts schools, all you need is between 50 and 150 people, and you're doing more than fine. You're doing more than fine.
You have to build that community within the school. There's icon schools in every town. Believe me, every town, everywhere that has an icon school, that school's been there for 30 years plus. It happens. It's there. And sometimes people that are opening up and they want to open up a box out fitness for women, or they want to do a self-defense cardio class for women and stuff like that. Listen, all that stuff is fine. All that stuff is fine, because you're getting and you're teaching people out there a type of self-esteem that's good. Okay. And I agree with everything that you're saying, everything. There's nothing there that is not. And I'm going to tell these people this out there. There's schools out there that, you said it, the ones that are going to teach you how to fight are the ones that are going to be in the ghettos. They're going to be the one that, guess what? These are the real deal schools. And real deal schools are far and few in between. And you might have one or two in New York. You might have so-and-so over here. You might have the fads. Let me tell you this. The fads, we've all seen the fads. We all both had schools in the 80s. We saw the ninja craze come up all the way now to the MMA craze. Those fads and the BJJ craze inside, all those fads, the way they're going, fads come and go. Okay? Fads come and go. And a lot of those times people want to gravitate to them and say, because we have to push those fads to go in there. That doesn't mean the capability of the student. That just means you're trying you're reaching out, grasping to keep your school alive, and I get that. And people out there, if you have a school, or you've been part of a school, and you have confidence that that person taught you something, push that school that was around. Push that to the next generation. Like you said, you had past students that don't want to come back, and they respect you, but they're afraid of saying hi to you because they think then number one, life is life. Some things happen in life that make us move on. There's always time to come back and catch up if you really want to learn that. I've had a lot of those students too come back. And I've had students that were with me in high school and college, and all of a sudden they left. Now they're in their 30s, going in their 40s, and they call up and they say, "Professor, I want to come back and train. Would you accept me?" Of course. We never kicked you out. Life happens. And those are the students that are going to appreciate you over there because they know the value of what was taught to them. And I get you. I see this a lot. I see friends that called, that opened up a school in San Antonio. Now they're going under. They don't know what to do. They're grasping for air. Listen, we have to be very, very truthful about how you run it. It's a business. And when you have memberships that come in, there's a lot of great points that you said. But when you have memberships come in and they sign that agreement, it is an agreement as per se. We're both obligated. I get a lot of people that pass the buck somewhere else. Oh, the grandparents were supposed to pay for it, and they're no longer going to pay for it. But the grandparents' name is not in this agreement. It's your name is on the agreement. Understand what I'm saying?
Banking has changed the same way Uber changed, Airbnb changed. All those industries have not been changed. What I'm experiencing right now literally gets me excited because I know that it's going to help people where it really counts. The number one reason people lose students is the lack of finances. Absolutely. The number one reason why martial arts schools close is the lack of finances. So if you really want to teach self-defense, financial self-defense is what takes most people out. So you got to have financial self-defense yourself, Mr. School owner. If you do that, then that makes so much sense.
Absolutely.
But, one other thing I'm going to say, you must look like a professional online. Imagine if every single one of your students had their own website, they had their video, that in the bottom, if they fill out the information, your school owner will get the information for that potential students. And then the bottom of that, have your link to your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, and get them all. It doesn't really matter. Those places are just different towns. Those are like different newspapers. Again, that whole structure, I'll break it down for you guys. And it's a lot. Technically speaking, it's called a link tree. You can get a link tree. A link tree has all of the links to what would be all of your business. But have your students make link trees for them, but with all your information. So every time when they join, the person inquired. And then when they do become a student, of course, you have options to give people some finances back or percentage back, whatever the case may be. But if you structure it as what would be a side hustle for a parent, trust me, they drive an Uber for a reason. If they can make $50 or $100 a month extra because they referred one person to you and you did it in a system that makes it easier where they can scan the QR code or they can share it on social media, they'll do that all the time. They will do it because there's a two-part benefit. You get more students, and at the same time, they get some finances, and everybody wins. I completely know that we must keep our head. If there was ever a time to be silly and positive and energetic and think about the worse things become, the bigger the opportunity is for those who see the opportunity. And I know for you who are not feeling too psyched up, I get it. I said it 1,000 times. It's hard to be motivated when you're broke. But if you're broke, if you're not motivated, you're gonna be broke. And then people literally are not gonna benefit. And that starts off with your own children. They won't benefit that your dad is successful. You know what I mean? And I completely believe that.
You're absolutely correct. And folks, this goes out there because we care about you guys going out there. And if you want to open up a school, you want to be an entrepreneur and go that route, please do so. There's martial artists out there that will help you gain there. That's basically how it happened. None of us, when we started, knew everything that was going on. There's stuff in there. I have notebooks of stuff and programs that I did since back in the 90s to the present. And I look back and I say, you know what, this worked. I'm going to go back and I'm going to redo this again, because guess what? We need to do. And that's how you have to act this way. We want more martial arts schools to be open. Actually, it's the community.
1,000%.
You know what I'm saying? So people do not understand that. They always say, "Oh, that guy's against me." No, we're not. We've never been. On the contrary, it's a worse ideology that you can think of. Here's a little bit of history, and people always say, "You know what city had the most combative schools ever in history? Was New Orleans, up to about 1920." In every corner in New Orleans, you had a dueling school. Imagine that. From the 1860s to about 1920, every corner in New Orleans had a fencing and a dueling school. Imagine that. Why would they do that? People from New York were sending their kids to go learn in New Orleans how to fight. Why? Because it's a necessity. We as men, we have to do that. And people say, "Oh, well, dueling's not fighting." Yeah, of course, it's one of the oldest martial arts that ever happened. Whether it was with whether fisticuffs or with bladed weapons. Now that has changed. Martial arts schools are those schools from the past. People say, "Oh, martial arts were not taught to." They weren't taught. You had what they call a mat d'armes for the nobility. Those guys who get paid for teaching their kids, tutored them in the skills of what? Fighting. All the time.
Professor, so let me make the commitment to you. Let's do 5 shows.
Let's do it.
Specific, and I want to help share things that's worked that I still believe can work, and I appreciate it.
We'll do it. We'll do that for the next couple of weeks. We're going to do 1 show a week on the problems of schools and membership schools have that we can switch it over for you guys out there. And if you're listening to this, share it, like it, comment, ask questions, because this is the best way. Brother, you take care. And guys out there, thank you all for listening. We're going to leave you with this. You all stay safe, be safe, and God bless you all. Till next time. Peace.
Peace.
Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond, broadcasting to the 4 corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
So when I was working on Selena, the series for Netflix, to play the role of Abraham Quintanilla, I put on a specific amount of weight, which I was fine doing, but also realizing it could be difficult to get that weight off. I got back into my physical regimen with James Leja, but I was still having trouble with just those last amounts. And that's when I got to meet Arturo from Laredo Medical Weight Loss Clinic. And just the products that he gave me kind of put me over the edge. I feel great about myself.